Hello, everybody, and welcome to Riftbound Ramblings. I'm your host, Barrett, and today is October 25th, which means we are officially less than 1 week away from the Origins release date for English. And yes, that means it's also been about 10 days since I've posted a video, which means we're going to play a little bit of catch up today with a tournament recap for week 15. This is last week for anybody keeping track, and yes, there's only one event for us to go over, and it is another Targon's Peak Ascension League. This is officially stage 4 for them. This took place on the 13th, which was last Monday, and there was 40 players, of course, split up into two groups, Group A and Group B. So thank you, Piltover Archive, for having this event on your website, and we are going to go over the two top fours for this event. So here we go. In fourth place, we've got a Kaisa list, and I think you're going to see a lot of Kaisa specifically talked about today, as well as another legend, mainly because as we get closer to the English release, there's going to be a lot more competitive events heating up. And I think that means people are going to get a lot more comfortable in the format, so they're going to play what are obviously some of the better characters in the format. This list isn't really anything different that we've seen. The biggest things to talk about on the sideboard is that we have some extra copies of cards already playing in the main. Smokescreen, Thousand-Tailed Watcher, Acathian Rain, and then of course we are still going to mainboard a copy of Time Warp, Unchecked Power, and 2 copies of Sprite Mother. And then the weird one that we haven't seen really played at all is 1 copy of Portal Rescue. So, interesting deck here. Nothing too crazy, nothing we haven't really talked about, nothing we haven't seen, and it gets 4th place here in Group A. In 3rd place, though, we do have a Master Yi deck, which is kind of the second tail of the format, and this is the Dazzling Aurora variant, so no low-costed units, only going to be playing these 8, which are the White Flame Protector, Deadbloom Predator, and the Mountain Drakes. And yes, we have a full suite of the ramp spells with Mobilize, Catalyst of Aeons, and Find Your Center. And the biggest things here that are new are really 1 copy of Windwall mainboarded, and I would say 2 copies of Primal Strike. Usually we only see 1. And in the sideboard, we have a bonus copy of Windwall. This is probably for things like the Kaisa matchup, so that we can counter things like Time Warp or Unchecked Power and things like that. The Rune Prisons, of course, still being in the sideboard. Challenges as well. And in case we need a little bonus unit, we have a Body Domain champion unit for Volibear. So 3rd place here for Dazzling Aurora. And I would say that this is normally the version that we might see more of. But it's really not, because we have in 2nd place a different Master Yi deck. But this one is a lot closer to the low-costed units and high-costed units throughout the entire game. We're playing Pit Rookies, Stalwart Poros, Clockwork Keepers, and First Mates. We even have Kiana's, of course, helps us out with the Kaisa matchup. And Tasty Fatefolk has made its way towards the higher cost units, along with the White Flame Protector and the Deadbloom Predator. And in the sideboard, we are also playing copies of Windwall, 2 of them, but just none mained. Rune Prisons, of course, a single Sabotage, and a card that we didn't see in the last deck at all, Unyielding Spirit, which is one of the big benefits of the Body Domain versus spell decks. So 2nd place here in this Master Yi deck, not doing Dazzling Aurora, but in 1st place, we have a Victor deck. And this is a heavy Order Domain Victor deck with a little bit of Mind involved. And yes, that is correct if you look very closely in the middle of this list. There are 3 copies of Baited Hook. So this is a Baited Hook Victor deck, and it did end up taking 1st place in Group A. And it's really interesting because your little 1 power recruits can turn into any of these 2 might units of the Faithful Manufacturers, Trifarian Glory Seekers, or the Daring Poros. And then those, when you're done with them, could turn into Sprite Mothers or Vanguard Captains. And then, of course, the big one is that you can get Spectral Matron once you get rid of one of those 3 might units to turn into that one. You ignore its cost, and then Spectral Matron gets you another unit, ignoring its cost, from your discard pile, which, by the way, you've been filling with because you're sacking things off with Baited Hook. So it kind of makes sense. This deck is really cool. We even have things like Machine Evangel, which is another 4 might unit for you to grab off of Baited Hook. And then, yes, we're even still playing things like Grand Stratagem and Thousand-Tailed Watcher. I like this deck a lot. It still plays good removal, Hidden Blade, Cull the Weak, of course. And then we even play 2 copies of Vengeance in the sideboard, Salvage against the Dazzling Aurora decks, which makes sense on why the other Master Yi deck didn't do too well if it went against this one. And then even 2 copies of Commander Commander something. Ledros. It's really hard to see its name. Which is a nice one. It helps you sack off your units and you can pay it for less, basically. But this is your 1st place deck in Group A. In Group B, we go back to Master Yi, and that's correct. We have another Dazzling Aurora deck. So Tale of two kind of decks going on, not just with Kaisa and Master Yi in general, but Master Yi having two different variants. And this deck is pretty much cookie cutter, I think, if not the same cards as the other Dazzling Aurora Master Yi deck, but it got fourth place over here instead of getting third. So nothing really new to talk about, of course, but it is a cool deck, and I don't see this deck going anywhere, at least in the metagame. Speaking of similar decks, here is third place in Group B. We have another Kaisa list, and this one, again, I think is cookie cutter main board, almost the same as the Kaisa list that we saw in Group A, except a sideboard is different with two Mundos, two Time Warps, and a Thermo Beam, not even opting at all for that extra copy of Smokescreen. And in second place, yeah, it's basically the same deck, but the main board is different because the third copy of Thousand Tailed Watcher is main boarded instead of Acathian Rain, and the Acathian Rain's now on the sideboard with two Mundos, a Time Warp, an Unchecked Power, and two Sprite Mothers. So double Kaisa here, one getting third, one getting second. Very similar main boards, actually only one card difference, but it still didn't win the whole thing on this group. Instead, it was another Master Yi deck, and again, the non-Dazzling Aurora version doing better this time. So it's just very interesting to pay attention to that. And this list is different than the other ones because it is only playing one copy of Kiana and only one copy of Deadbloom Predator, opting for the third copy of White Flame Protector in this list. We're mainboarding things like Primal Strength that are not just in the Dazzling Aurora deck, but of course you play them in the mini one as well. And I kind of like it, right? It's not too bad. And then the cool part is in the sideboard, there are extra Deadblooms, two Catalyst and Aeons, because sometimes you can get away with playing Ramp against certain decks, the Rune Prison, of course, and only a single copy of Unyielding Spirit. So this deck is very cool. It is, again, doing better than the Dazzling Aurora, at least for these Ascension Leagues, specifically at Targon's Peak stuff. But it is an interesting story nonetheless. But that's going to be it for this event. We had Victor in Group A and Master Yi in Group B taking things down in first place. And that's going to be it for today's video. So thanks so much for watching this one. If you like what you see, go ahead and give a thumbs up to the video. And of course, comment down below if this surprises you or if you think you're going to be trying to play something to beat these decks or if you're going to join them. They do constantly adapt ever so slightly for people that keep playing in more events and adapting to the metagame. Victor getting some wins now, not just today, but in other times as well. Good to see some success in that character that has kind of struggled, at least in the Chinese regionals. But of course, subscribe to the channel so you never miss a video like this one, and I'll see you in the next one.